Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and it feels like the hobby of retro game collecting, at least for YouTube's sake, or at least from what we see on YouTube, it feels like it's being absorbed by the big three in retro video game reselling, right? So we all know who the main three retro video game resellers are on YouTube. Um, being Phoenix, Retro Rick, and Chase. And it seems that over the last couple months, these guys, or a couple years really, these guys have pretty much absorbed a lot of the big name collectors, big time collectors on YouTube, collectors who have large amounts of retro video games. We saw RGT85. Obviously, the biggest collection that I think I've seen, and not just big in terms of quantity, but quality. The best quality collection I think I've seen on YouTube, from the collection that Gamers Manual has. He sold his collection. I know Video Game Votary sold his collection. And there have been more, right? There have been more people who have sold their collection, and that's not counting everyone who sold their collection quietly. They haven't really told anyone that they've sold. Now, I think there's still a few people left that have pretty sizable collections on YouTube. Obviously, Gamer Aimer, she's got a pretty big collection. My JRPG Life, they have a still pretty their large collection. It looks like they still have theirs. Mort's Garage, he looks like he has still a pretty large collection. And so there are people still, maintaining their collection, right? They're not completely selling. They're not getting out of the hobby. They're sticking with it. And in 2025, a part of me is just wondering, like, what's keeping some people in the hobby? What has some people pulling out? And I have noticed some commonality with the first group of people who sold versus the second group of people who sold. And not to say that this is the reason why they sold, but it's just a couple things that I recognize, right? So the first thing is that, like, with My JRPG Life, Mort's Garage, Gamer Aimer, these are channels that have seen a lot more success, I would say, than the first few channels, right? I think Gamer's Manual, although he has really good content, I watch his videos. I think he has a really cool, video setup. He gets straight to the point, right? He just shows you the games he's picking up. He tells you how much he paid. He talks about the deal and he keeps it moving. That being said, he didn't really have a huge channel. I think he had, his channel was probably about the same size as mine. Wasn't really a large channel at all. The RGT85, now he's probably one of the biggest gaming channels. He's up there with guys like Spawnwave and, Metal Jesus. He's up there, right? When it comes to just this video game YouTube space. So I would say he's probably the one exception. And I think he mentioned why he sold. But what I noticed is that when it comes to RGT85, I think he's been around for a while. Like, I think he's had a foothold in the gaming community for quite some time. When you look at, like, Mort's Garage, My JRPG Life, those are channels that kind of blew up, like, during COVID, and post-COVID, they continued to grow. Along with other channels like Retro Bird. He's another dude who kind of, blew up during COVID, and he's grown a lot. And what I noticed is that a lot of these channels that have seen a lot of success, they have maintained their collection. And I'm not saying that they've maintained their collection because of the size of their channel or how much their channels have grown. But what I will say is that if you do have a channel with tens of thousands of subscribers, and you're getting, hundreds of thousands of views per month, if not millions, then at that point, your collection is pretty much paying for itself, especially if you're someone who already works and you haven't decided to go full-time with YouTube. Now, I don't know if Mort's Garage has gone full-time. I don't know if My JRPG Life has gone full-time. I think they still work their regular jobs. And so if you're in a situation where you've got a decent paying job that's paying all of your bills, you don't really have any other real obligations, and you have a channel that's pretty much self-sustaining, and not only is it self-sustaining, but it's bringing in a considerable amount of income that allows you to continue your collection, then you're really not in a position where you really need to sell anything. And so, my JRPG life has grown. I don't know where Mort's Garage is at, but I do know he has had some success. I don't know how often he posts, or I don't know what what his channel does for him. He doesn't seem like the type of guy who needs his YouTube channel to purchase games. But again, these are channels that have seen some success, and I think when it comes to the YouTube and retro game collecting space, I feel like you have those channels that have blown up, you have those channels that have seen like some minor success, and then you have the channels that kind of pretty much fell flat and went stagnant. And I've seen different creators transition over the last 5 years. I've seen content creators develop and build their own style that really connects with their audience, and they grow. They grow with their audience, and I think that's kind of what you saw from more My JRPG Life. You've got guys like Heck and Steve, who has kind of built his own niche within the retro gaming space, and he's built his own kind of like loyal following of folks. And you just have like these folks who find their own niche, their own space, and they continue to rock out. And then I think you have some channels that they just kind of went flat, they went stagnant, and instead of talking about video games, maybe they just started talking about other channels. They just started talking about, I don't know, just they just started talking about the same thing every day. And if you do that, then yeah, things are gonna get stagnant for you. But I think overall, here now in the middle of 2025, it's a very interesting time, because there's a lot of channels that I watch, like especially during COVID, that are just gone. Like I just don't see them posting at all. I remember I used to watch this one dude, Resale Wizard. He used to post all the time. He was a little eccentric, but he was a cool dude. I used to watch his videos. Cody with a K is gone, right? Like he's out of there. He's not even, I mean, I remember people used to wait for a Cody with a K video. I used to look in the comments and people would be excited for a Cody with a K video. And his channel blew up fairly fast, like with his game collection challenges and stuff like that. He was killing it. I think he just straight up quit doing video game content and just started doing guitar content. He just hung a sharp left and never came back. Then you've got other guys, I remember there's another dude, Rolling Retro. I remember he seemed like he was a dude who was going to start picking up steam, and, he was doing the pickups videos, and then, he kind of just stopped. And I think he started doing pinball stuff for a little bit, and then he was kind of out of there too. And those are just three channels. There's so many other channels that I've watched or that I've seen in the past that, I used to watch their content. It used to be cool. It showed me what people were doing in other parts of the country. I think Cody was in Colorado. I'm not sure where Rolling Retro was. I'm not sure where Resale Wizard was, but these are folks who are in different areas, apart from mine, that were doing the pickups thing like heavy. And people don't really do it anymore. There's still some channels that I watch. I remember I used to watch this one channel, Objo Gaming. He used to kind of make these pickups videos and stuff, and I think he still makes videos. I haven't seen his videos. Like I don't get, like, his videos don't come into my feed anymore, so I don't know what happened there. But there are just some channels that they just don't come into my feed anymore. That's the other thing. Like YouTube doesn't like bring the content that these creators are making to me anymore, right? And I think it's just very, very interesting. I used to, even some of the bigger channels, I don't get their videos recommended to me anymore. I used to get a lot of recommendations for guys like Sega Lord X, Radical Reggie, Even guys like Mr. Rightway, even Gamer Aimer, like I don't get her recommendations anymore, and I don't know. Like I don't know what happened in the space, but I do know that we are in a very much transitional point in the retro gaming YouTube space. It definitely feels like we're in a big transitional period where a lot of people have pivoted, and are pivoting. They're pivoting away. A lot of people are pivoting away straight away from retro video games. Some people are just going current gen only. They're only collecting current gen stuff. And I get it. It's a lot easier to collect for current gen stuff. You don't have to deal with crazy aftermarket prices. You can get really top tier games at MSRP because it's still MSRP, right? And unless they have like some type of manufactured scarcity via limited run or strictly limited, you don't have to worry about paying crazy prices. So I think it's a lot easier to collect for current gen, and I think that's the direction that a lot of people are going because they don't have to hunt, right? They don't have to like hit the yard sales and the garage sales. They don't have to do all that. They can just walk into their GameStop or go to their Target or order it online, and they get their brand new game, right to their mailbox. And so I see a lot of people kind of shifting into that and doing more content on that. And I think that it's just all cool. I'm inspired by everybody that I mentioned here in this video. They've all kind of played into my just what I do here on YouTube. I've kind of watched them and learned something from all of them, and even some of the newer channels that I started watching over the last couple years, like Easy Gamers and Grailbound Gaming, and you know uh, just another I think just another collector or just another game collector. Um, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head some of the or new to me. Maybe they're not new to YouTube, but they're kind of newer to me, meaning I've just discovered them over the last year or two. And there's still channels out there that I get inspiration from and that I watch and I learn from and things like that. But I think overall it's just a transition, and I'm seeing a lot of people that were really gung-ho backing away, completely dropping it all together and just and doing something else. And honestly, to me, that just speaks to like your life situation, like what your life circumstances are telling you you can and cannot do. For some people, they're just, or just what their interests are. Cody with a K just might not be as interested in game hunting anymore. Maybe he's more interested in doing guitar stuff. Maybe he wants to write music. Maybe his real dream is to become a recording artist. He seems like he could be an artist. Maybe that's what his real passion is, and that's what he's decided to do. And it's kind of hard to fuse two passions together. It's almost like YouTube won't let you do it. Like if you wanted to have a channel that talked about like gaming and country music at the same time, like YouTube is going to obliterate you in the algorithm. It's just not going to push your content because it's just not the way the algorithm works. And so I think some people just decide, you know what? I'm just going to leave this content altogether and just go pursue, you know, ultimately what I want to pursue. And even me here on this channel, had, I've debated whether or not to start another channel. I actually started another channel at one point, posted one video, and it just kind of dropped, right? Like, because it's hard, it's hard to create, honestly, it's hard to create edited content. And so for anyone who's out there just making edited videos all the time, props to you. Like, shout out to you for the for what you do, because that takes time. I'm able to crank out videos because this is it, folks. Like, this is the format. There's no cutting, there's no editing. It's all raw. It's all raw, rough and raw, right out the drawer, straight to your phone. I don't edit anything. And so for me, taking 15-20 minutes out of a day, when I'm, catching my break or in between things that I'm doing, it's nothing for me to do this. But if you're sitting there editing a video, that takes hours, that takes work. And I give props to the folks who do that. And for someone like just going back to Cody with a K, I mean, if you ever go back and watch his videos, if he still has the videos up, go back and watch his videos. Tons of editing in those videos. Just from a sound perspective, with all the different music he puts in there and sound effects, and what's crazy is that you've seen his editing impact on a lot of other creators. Like, he's definitely had an impact on guys like Pick and Preacher. I feel like when I watch a Pick and Preacher video, oh, he's not Pick and Preacher anymore. I think he's Keith Courage or something. I think that's what he is. Keith Courage now. When I see a Keith Courage video, I think Cody with a K. I feel like I see that influence on, and not just on his videos, on other videos. That's how impactful Cody with a K was during this short period of time that he made those videos. And so, this is just me kind of shooting the breeze here, just reflecting on just like YouTube and the retro video game space, and I'm just rambling, right? I'm just rambling. So, if you're here with me, then cool. But I think it's just interesting to see how things have changed, to see how certain people have influenced this sector of YouTube, and it's also interesting to see how many people have grown out of it. It's crazy. It's interesting. You watch some of these folks for years, and you literally watch them grow out of it. They grow into a new season of life. And even looking at someone like a Gamer's Manual, like, I used to just shake my head at the stuff that he would find and pick up, and he was dedicated, but his life took him in a whole nother direction. And that's okay. That's okay. He decided buying a house was more important than than doing a Facebook market deal. And who can be mad at that, man? During this day and age where times are tough, and anytime you can do something like purchasing a home, which is for most people is the largest purchase they'll ever make. Anytime you could do something like that, I mean, that beats any retro pickup ever. Doesn't matter what you found. You could have found a whole box of, grails. A whole box of grails will never compare with buying the home of your dreams, or just buying a home, period, because that's a very difficult thing to do. I know I did it when I was in my 20s, and it stressed me the hell out. I lost like 30 pounds during the whole process. That's how stressful it was. But shout out to him, And I just think that it's cool to see the maturation. Is that how you say it? The evolution of this space. I'm just really interested to see where we go from here. How much longer can we talk about the same games? How many more years will go by and we'll still marvel over, Rule of Rose, and we'll drool over Earthbound? Like, how long will people still care about Pokemon Gold and Silver and Leaf? And, who's still going to care about a complete unboxed Game Boy Advance SP? And how much longer are people going to care about this stuff, to the point where content can be made from it and people actually watch it and consume it? I guess for as long as it can, right? It's like the Matrix, at the end of the Matrix. And just how long do you expect this piece to last? And she's like, for as long, the Oracle was like, for as long as it can. And I think that's just kind of where we're at. It's kind of where we're at. And I think, people will pivot. People will start new channels. People will start new endeavors. People will, try new things, try new ideas and new topics. And that's cool. I think it's cool when we can embrace someone else's evolution. And honestly, I see this happening in multiple spaces on YouTube, not just retro video games. I see a lot of like sneaker content creators, because I do follow like a lot of sneaker content creators, and I see a lot of sneaker content creators going through the same thing. I literally watched one sneaker content creator just apologize. We made a whole video just apologizing to his subscribers, saying how he's gonna up the game in his content. He's trying new things. And I felt somewhat of a sense of desperation in his video, probably because he felt he could that he could sense that he was losing steam behind his channel. And that can be an extremely stressful feeling, I would have to imagine, as a content creator. You know what I mean? If you are a content creator and in 2021 and 2022, you are getting millions of views a month, and you were getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars on YouTube for your videos between like 2020 and 2022 or 2023, and now here in 2025, because sneakers are basically dead unless it's like a Travis Scott or some kind of crazy collab or some extremely limited, shoe. For the most part, sneakers are dead. So the content is dead. You know what I mean? Like, most people aren't really watching that type of content as heavily as they did before. I mean, they recently released the Shattered Backboards, which for a long time was a grail sneaker, and they sat. Like, nobody bought them really. I mean, they're selling out now. I think they're slowly selling out, but nobody wanted those. And that was a sneaker that, back in 2020 was probably selling for like $1,000, $1,200, and now they're sitting, when people could buy them at retail, which is $185. I think it's a sign of the times, not just when it comes to collecting video games, but sneakers, action figures, toys. I mean, just go to any sector of YouTube and look for videos in any type of collecting hobby, and you will see that it's just losing steam. It's losing steam, and people are coming to grips with the realities of life. People got to buy food. You know how much a grocery bill is? I mean, and I'm gonna just put a disclaimer here that what I'm about to tell you is definitely a first world problem, right? This is a first world problem that I'm about to share with you. This is not like I'm not complaining, but it's still reality. I mean, I was in Hawaii like a week ago. I was there for like a couple weeks or like a week and a half, and just in that short amount of time, I easily spent over $1,000 on groceries. Now, granted, groceries in Hawaii is just astronomical. I mean, it's crazy. But even like if you're in California, or if you're in New York, if you're in any one of these major cities, it's freaking expensive. You could easily go to the grocery store and drop like $600 for groceries that might last you a week. So you're talking about spending like $2,000 a month or more on groceries. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is crazy. That is inflation crazy. And, we don't have like a ton of people in our house. Like, I got a small family. So I can only imagine people who have, 3, 4, 5 kids. That gets a little crazy. And I think this is a big part of the reason why. And now I'm going way off the range, right? So if you clicked off the video, I totally understand. I'm just going way off the range here. But I mean, I totally understand why, some people are choosing, to avoid certain obligations until they feel financially ready. So look, I'm saying all this to say that, it's definitely a transitional period. It's a transitional time. People are leaving the space. And I wouldn't be shocked if this time next year, even more people are done with retro collecting. I wouldn't be shocked if this time next year, even more people sold their collection and got completely out of the hobby and were just completely done with retro game collecting. I wouldn't be shocked, I'll tell you what, I will say this. If it's something you're thinking about, I would do it now. If you are thinking about selling your collection, I would do it now. I would get out now before everyone tries to get out at the same time. I think Gamers Manual did the right thing. He did the right thing. RGT 85, he did the right thing. These guys sold when it wasn't popular to sell. They sold in the middle of collecting hype, before it became hard to sell. And so I say, if you feel like between now and the end of the year or within the next 6 months, you're going to be in a financial jam and you're going to need some money, and you're looking at your video game collection as your financial backup plan, I would liquefy and get that cash in your hand before the year ends, because there is no telling what things are going to look like next year. Now, I have a lot of people who will come to me and say, well, Y2K, you're wrong. People are still buying. There's plenty of money. Prices are going up. Listen, at this stage, it's like the real estate market, right? A house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. Same goes with video games. Your video games are worth about as much as what someone is willing to pay for it. And if you think you're whatever, I don't take the rarest game in your collection. Take the most expensive game in your collection. Right now. Do it right now. Try my theory. Prove me wrong. Take the most expensive game in your collection right now and put it on eBay. Post it on Facebook. Not eBay, because if someone buys it on eBay, then you're kind of obligated to sell it. But for the hell of it, put it on Facebook Marketplace and just see what happens. See if you get hits. See if people reach out to you. Take your most expensive. Take the game that you think would sell like hotcakes and price it at, don't price it, half off. Price it at price chart at whatever the value price charting says, and see how long it takes. See how long that game sits, right? So I don't want to hear how much prices are rising. I don't want to hear how much values are rising. Tell me about something you sold at market value. Then I'll listen, right? Because it's only as good as what someone's actually willing to pay for it, not what price charting says or what, eBay sold says. I don't want to hear none of that. And I think that's a reality that some people are going to wake up to here real soon as they decide that they want to start selling some things. So, and another thing is that when you buy and sell things at a gaming convention, that's like operating in the shadow realm, right? Like that's like doing anything inside the confines of a gaming convention is not reality, because one, everyone there is just like super euphoric. They're hyped up on all this retro energy. They're all feeding off of one another. They're super excited to be there. And there's like a hint of irrationality when making purchases. So, like I said, I don't want to hear about transactions that are done at a gaming convention, because again, that is like operating in the shadow realm, like the mirror dimension. That's that you are in the mirror dimension when you're buying and selling games at a gaming convention, right? That's not reality. Once you leave that gaming convention and you get back out to real life, and all of those people disperse and go back to their corners of the world or their corners of the country, it becomes hard again to find buyers. That's why, like, if you are gonna unload anything, maybe a gaming convention would be your best bet. And I think there's still a couple more before the year ends. I think some conventions go all the way through September. I'm not sure what they are, because I don't plan on going into any, but yeah, look, I've rambled on for almost 30 minutes, man. This was just one of those late night Labor Day rambles that I just felt was interesting, because I see a lot of changes going on. I see a lot of changes going on, and even for me, a lot of changes happening for me. A lot of things that I want to do differently going into the end of the year, and we'll just see what happens. But look, I owe the channel members a video, and I'll probably be dropping that tonight. It is a full Maui recap, so I'm going to be sharing that on the channel with the channel members. So hopefully you channel members enjoy that. I was going to try to run a contest in August, but the month just was crazy. I mean, vacation, work, back to school, getting readjusted. I mean, that jet lag was crazy. Going from Eastern Standard Time to Pacific Time back to Eastern Standard Time. I mean, like, we were all thrown for a loop. It took my kids a full week. I think they're just getting back into the rhythm of going to bed on time. So just so much happening, so many moving parts in August. The month just literally got away from me. It just completely got away from me. So I'm going to enjoy this Labor Day weekend. I'm going to drop that video for the channel members, and I will reset and look forward to having a stronger September as far as content for you guys. We're still going to talk about retro games here. We're going to talk about video games in general, but I thought this was just something very interesting for me to ramble on about. But that does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.